Before we dive in, I'd like to ask a small favor. I'm pouring all my energy into reaching my goal of 1,000 subscribers, which means the world to me. Please, I'm asking you to hit that subscribe button. It's just a single click, but it gives me tremendous motivation to keep creating more videos. Thank you so much.
The ambient hum of the boardroom, perched high in the Alcazar Tower, dissolved into a thick, suffocating silence the moment Arthur Alcazar's voice boomed, demanding an interpreter. Outside, through the expansive glass, the vibrant pulse of Atlanta's skyline continued its ceaseless ballet, utterly oblivious to the quiet implosion unfolding within. Decades of empire building were fragmenting in mere seconds, and a palpable helplessness gripped everyone present. Across the custom-crafted mahogany expanse, the executive delegates from the Nishioa Corporation remained resolutely standing. In the intricate dance of global corporate diplomacy, a foreign party rising before the final handshake was a definitive signal of departure. Arthur, you have to do something, Greg Lawson whispered, his face bleached of all color. They're walking out. Do you grasp what that means? Everything we've built walks right out that door. On the main presentation screen, two stark words lingered: Q2 analysis. They represented the linchpin of the decade's most crucial investment phase, a deal meticulously crafted to safeguard thousands of regional jobs and etch the firm onto the global map. Yet the entire edifice now teetered on the precipice of collapse, crippled by a communication breakdown. The sole, indispensable specialist capable of bridging the vast linguistic chasm had failed to materialize. Arthur buried his face in his hands. Witnessing an executive of his stature crumble under pressure was a rare, discomfiting spectacle, yet the entire room bore witness to it that afternoon. "Where is the translator?" he demanded, his voice taut with strain. "Valerie had a medical emergency, sir," Rachel, a young executive assistant, replied, her voice quivering. "She called just minutes ago. We couldn't find a replacement on such short notice. No one with her level of fluency could possibly arrive in less than a day." "I don't have a day," Arthur snapped. "I have 10 minutes before those men board a plane and sign with our competitors." Across the table, Haruto Nishioa, the composed head of the foreign delegation, his eyes sharp and discerning, exchanged a few brief words with his associates. Arthur's team understood nothing of the Japanese, but the gesture was universally clear. Mr. Nishioa closed his leather portfolio. "Mr. Nishioa, please," Greg interjected, stepping forward with a desperate, hopeful smile, attempting a fragmented explanation in English. "Please, just one moment, we can explain." The executive regarded him with a polite, distant gaze, offering a faint nod that felt like a final, irrevocable farewell. It was at that precise moment that the unexpected occurred. From the rear of the grand room, near a cleaning cart that had stood unobtrusively against the wall for hours, a woman let fall the dusting cloth she held. With deliberate care, she peeled off her rubber gloves one by one, placing them neatly on the cart's tray. Possessing the quiet, almost ancient composure of someone who had patiently waited years for their cue, she stepped forward. When she spoke, it was not in English. It was in fluent, precise Japanese. A level of diction so masterfully articulated, so imbued with the delicate nuances of a native speaker, that the effect was instantaneous and profound. The entire foreign delegation swiveled in unison. Haruto Nishioa, poised to depart, froze mid-stride. His eyes locked onto the woman in the janitorial uniform, as if beholding a specter from his own past. "What is she doing?" Greg stammered, his gaze darting around the room. "Someone get her out of here." "This is a private executive meeting." Arthur raised a hand, silencing him. Unlike his partner, Arthur's attention was riveted to the reaction of the delegates. Their expressions had shifted from impending departure to an intense, almost disbelieving astonishment and keen interest. The woman, Anna Salazar, the one who emptied wastebaskets, whom no one greeted in the elevator, who existed only when the coffee pot ran dry, continued to speak. Her words flowed with a smooth, mesmerizing cadence, and with each sentence, the visiting delegates visibly relaxed. "Haruto Nishioa, set his portfolio back down on the table, and opened it. Rachel gasped, covering her mouth. A junior manager fumbled his pen, letting it clatter onto the carpet without a second thought. A hush fell over the room. A collective held breath, as if no one dared disturb the unfolding atmosphere. "Can someone tell me what is happening?" Greg whispered, his face still ashen. "What's happening?" Arthur replied, his eyes never leaving Anna. "Is that the janitor just saved our company?" Anna turned toward Arthur for a fleeting moment, and for the first time since she had begun her tenure in the skyscraper, the owner truly met her gaze. "Mr. Alcazar," she said softly in English, "with your permission, the agreement was not falling apart due to the financial figures. It was falling apart over a single word." "A single word?" Arthur echoed. "The person who translated your written proposal made an error," Anna explained. "A minor mistake to us perhaps, but a significant issue to them. In your document you promised to meet the deadlines if conditions permit, but in the translated text, that phrase became, 'We will meet deadlines only when it is convenient for us.' To Mr. Nishioa and his colleagues, that isn't business phrasing. It signifies a profound lack of respect. It communicates that your word holds no intrinsic value." An absolute silence descended upon the room. Arthur felt a tidal wave of realization crash over him. The potential collapse of his life's work, a legacy painstakingly built, had been triggered by an inaccurate translation. "I corrected it," Anna continued quietly. "I explained that it was a translation error, not a reflection of your firm's intent, and that your company honors its commitments. I extended an apology on behalf of the company, using the formal expressions their culture dictates. That is why they sat back down." Greg Lawson, who had remained frozen in disbelief, suddenly found his voice, attempting to reassert his authority with a strained, nervous laugh. "This is ridiculous. Are we truly going to entrust the most critical deal in our history to a member of the cleaning staff? How do we know she isn't fabricating this just to seem important?" A few managers averted their gaze uncomfortably, but no one dared speak up in his defense. The situation carried an unspoken, underlying harshness. Here was a woman who had just salvaged their business, now being questioned as a potential imposter. Anna did not flinch. Instead, she met Greg's gaze with unwavering calm. "You have every right to be skeptical, sir," she stated without hesitation. "I clean your offices, empty your wastebaskets, and discard the half-empty cups you leave behind. It is entirely understandable that you find it difficult to believe I am capable of anything beyond that." She turned back to the delegation and spoke several sentences in Japanese. Haruto Nishioa nodded slowly, responding with a measured statement that concluded with a respectful bow directed at her. Anna translated, "Mr. Nishioa says that in 30 years of business, he has rarely encountered anyone who speaks his language with such clarity and sincerity. He noted that if this company employs individuals of such caliber within its walls, it is an organization truly worth partnering with." Rachel let out a soft sigh of relief. One of the executives began to clap before catching himself, but the sentiment rippled through the room. They had just witnessed an extraordinary moment, delivered by someone they had consistently overlooked. Greg's jaw tightened. He realized with dawning horror that despite his position, he had nearly let everything slip through his fingers, and the person who had just rescued the negotiation was someone he regularly treated as invisible. "A language is not truly mastered through money, sir," Anna remarked quietly. "It is learned through life, and life sometimes tests those who carry the most knowledge." No one offered a response. Arthur Alcazar walked toward her. The executive, accustomed to issuing commands, now stood before a woman holding a cleaning cloth, a profound sense of humility washing over him. He recognized his own oversight, his own failing in having passed her countless times without ever truly acknowledging her presence. "May I ask your name?" he requested, his voice softer than usual. "Anna, sir. Anna Salazar." "Anna Salazar," she replied. "I have cleaned this floor for 3 years." 3 years, he repeated, letting the words sink in. "For 3 years, the person who just saved this firm has been emptying my waste baskets." "Everyone has a role to play, sir," she replied with a modest smile. "Mine happens to be this one, for now." She stepped toward the table to clear away a few empty glasses, returning to her routine duties. As her hand reached for the items, her gaze happened to fall upon the open folder belonging to the delegation. She saw the logo emblazoned on the cover, and the corporate name written in 2 languages, Nishioa Corporation. Her movement halted instantly. The glassware in her hands trembled. The woman who had so recently stood firm against Greg's condescension seemed to lose all color. Her lips parted slightly, and her eyes reflected a sudden, profound pain. "Nishioa," she whispered beneath her breath. Across the table, a younger member of the visiting team, a serious man who had remained quiet throughout the meeting, was observing her intently. Something about her seemed strikingly familiar to him, as if a distant memory were struggling to surface. Anna, oblivious to his stare, was utterly focused on the name on the folder, a name she had buried deep within herself years ago, a name that had once brought her both immeasurable joy and profound sorrow. A glass slipped from her fingers, landing on the carpet without breaking. For the first time in 3 years, the woman who usually blended seamlessly into the background had to steady herself against the edge of the table to maintain her balance. What had begun as a corporate negotiation had unexpectedly unearthed a past she believed was long gone. The glass lay on the carpet, rolling gently on its side. No one paid it any mind except Arthur, whose focus had completely shifted from the transaction to Anna. He had watched her handle the foreign executives with absolute composure. Yet now, simply reading a corporate title on a document, she appeared visibly shaken. "Are you all right?" he asked softly, moving closer. Anna closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, her composure had returned, a quiet reservoir she had relied upon for years. "I am fine, sir," she answered. "Just a moment of dizziness. I haven't eaten today." Arthur knew it was an excuse, but he chose not to press her. "I need to ask a favor of you," he said, his tone devoid of any demand. "The meeting is far from over. We still have to review the contract clause by clause. If you leave, we risk losing everything again. I am asking you to stay, and we will compensate you properly for your time." Anna looked down at the folder, at the name that caused her such visceral discomfort. Everything within her urged her to grab her cart and walk away, knowing no amount of money could ease the weight of re-engaging with that past. Yet, she thought of her small rented room, her overdue bills, and the biting cold of the coming winter. "I will stay," she agreed quietly. Across the table, Haruto Nishioa watched her with growing curiosity. It was not the gaze of a businessman evaluating an interpreter, but something far more personal, as if he were trying to resolve a question he was hesitant to voice. The meeting proceeded, with Anna facilitating the communication between the 2 parties. The deal regained momentum. She translated not just the technical vocabulary, but the subtle nuances and courtesies essential to their dialogue. The local executives observed her with a mixture of respect and appreciation, while Rachel diligently took notes. Everything progressed smoothly until they reached the financial terms. Mr. Watanabe, the financial officer for the visiting team, leaned forward and pointed to a specific section of the agreement. He spoke quietly to Haruto, prompting a brief, hushed discussion among their team. Arthur's brow furrowed with concern. "Is there an issue?" Anna did not reply immediately. She read the clause repeatedly, her expression shifting from calm to a sharp, dawning realization. "Mr. Alcazar," she said slowly, "did you draft this specific section yourself?" "No," Arthur replied. "The operational details were managed by Greg's department." "Why?" Anna looked up, her gaze instinctively landing on Greg Lawson. Greg, who had been idly glancing at his phone, suddenly went still. "Mr. Watanabe is asking," Anna explained, "why the distribution logistics for this entire agreement must go exclusively through an entity called Coastal Freight Solutions." He was also probing why the service fees quoted by this entity were nearly 3 times higher than the standard market rates. A heavy silence descended upon the room. "Coastal Freight Solutions," Arthur repeated, frowning. "I'm not familiar with that vendor. We have our own internal logistics network. Why is a third-party firm written into the core of this contract?" "That is precisely what they are asking," Anna said. Furthermore, the text is structured such that a significant portion of the deal's profits would be directed to this entity without standard oversight. The room turned its attention toward Greg Lawson. Greg offered an uneasy laugh. "This is ridiculous," he said, standing up. "Arthur, are you really going to let a member of the cleaning crew question a contract prepared by our legal team? Do you know what we pay our attorneys? And we're taking the word of someone who cleans restrooms over qualified professionals?" It was a misstep, and everyone in the room recognized it. Anna took a step toward him and spoke with quiet authority. "I am not questioning the attorneys, Mr. Lawson," she said. "I am simply reading what is written on the page, and the text indicates that you or someone closely connected to you stood to profit significantly behind this company's back." She paused briefly. "That is why you wanted me out of this room from the beginning. Not because I was a cleaner out of place, but because I was the only person here capable of reading both languages and revealing what you intended to hide." Rachel stopped typing. One of the younger managers looked away in disbelief. "Arthur," Greg said, changing his approach as he addressed his partner. "You know me. We've worked together for years. Are you going to believe a complete stranger over me?" Arthur stood up, picked up the document, and examined the clause. As he read, his expression hardened. The third-party entity was explicitly named, inserted directly into the terms. "Coastal Freight Solutions," Arthur read aloud. "Tell me, Greg, if I have our legal team verify the ownership of this entity right now, whose name will appear on the registration?" Greg opened his mouth, but no sound came out. "Answer me," Arthur demanded, his voice low and firm. "Look at me and tell me your name is not attached to this firm." Greg's silence was answer enough. "Pack your belongings," Arthur stated coldly. "Tonight, our legal representatives will audit every contract you have handled. If we find additional irregularities, there will be serious consequences." "Arthur, please. We are done." Greg, the executive who had walked in with absolute confidence, left the room quietly, while the staff avoided making eye contact with him. When the door closed, Arthur turned toward Anna and bowed his head respectfully before everyone present. "I owe you an apology," Arthur admitted. "Not just for today, but for all the time you worked here without me ever learning your name. You saved this firm twice in a single afternoon, and the second time you protected us from internal corruption." Anna felt tears well up in her eyes, moved by the simple dignity of being acknowledged. "I simply did what was right, sir," she murmured. "Sometimes what is right is directly before us. We just need to pay attention." The foreign delegation discussed the situation among themselves. Haruto Nishioa then stood up, indicating they were ready to finalize the agreement the following day. Through Anna, he expressed that they were leaving satisfied and honored to have met someone who stood up for integrity. One by one, the visiting executives offered their farewells. The youngest member paused briefly in front of Anna. He looked at her as if about to speak, but hesitated, offering a gentle bow before exiting. Anna watched him go, her heart beating with an unfamiliar anxiety. As the room cleared, Rachel gave Anna a brief hug, and several managers shook her hand. Eventually, Anna found herself alone with her cleaning cart once again. As night fell, she began collecting the discarded items, attempting to return to her routine. Then, a quiet voice addressed her from behind in Japanese. "I thought I would never see you again." Anna froze, a glass still in her hand. She turned around slowly. Haruto Nishioa had not departed. He stood near the window with the city lights framing his silhouette, looking at her with a gentle, regretful expression. Many years have passed, he spoke in Japanese, so only she would understand. "You have changed, but your voice is unforgettable. I would recognize it anywhere." The glass trembled in her grip. "You are mistaken, sir," she whispered, taking a step back. "I am only the cleaner here." "No," Haruto replied, his voice softening. "You are the woman who loved my brother. You are the one we lost." He paused. "You are my nephew's mother." The glass slipped from her hand and shattered against the floor. With its breaking, the emotional barrier Anna had maintained for years gave way. She knelt down, attempting to pick up the broken pieces with shaking hands, trying to avoid meeting Haruto's eyes. "Please leave those," Haruto said gently, stepping closer. "Look at me. I don't know what you are speaking of," she insisted, clinging to her denial. I just cleaned these floors. Your hands tell a different story, Haruto said softly. They are trembling just as they did that afternoon at the harbor when I watched you board that ship and said nothing to stop you. Anna closed her eyes as memories she had suppressed for years resurfaced. Years ago, on the other side of the world, she had not been a cleaner. She was Anna Salazar, a bright young woman who had traveled to Japan on an academic scholarship. Determined to learn and adapt, she mastered the language until it felt like a second nature to her. In time, she became a highly qualified interpreter, translating for diplomats and international business forums. During an engineering conference, she met a gentle structural engineer with a quiet demeanor named Takashi Nishioa, Har's younger brother. He looked at you unlike anyone else, Har recalled softly. My brother, who rarely spoke and lived immersed in his design calculations, could not stop talking about you. Anna set the glass shards down and stood up slowly, allowing herself to speak of the past. We married despite your family's objections, she murmured. I was an outsider without wealth or a prominent name. To the Nishoka family, I was an unwelcome addition to a long lineage. She looked at Haruto. You were the only one who didn't completely close the door on me. Though you didn't open it fully either. Haruto looked down. I was passive, he admitted. I respected you and saw how happy you made my brother, but I remained silent when I should have spoken up. That silence cost us more than I ever anticipated. Anna walked toward the window, looking out over the city. We had a son, she said, her tone filled with deep affection. Takashi wept when he held him for the first time. He said our boy was the most meaningful bridge he had ever built. Half of him, half of me. Kenji, Har said softly. Anna shuddered at the sound of the name. She had not spoken it aloud in years, because doing so reopened an unhealed wound. Kenji, she repeated as a tear traced down her cheek. What happened, Anna? Har asked quietly. Tell me your side because I only ever heard my family's version, and the guilt has remained with me. Anna wrapped her arms around herself. Takashi was working on a major coastal infrastructure project. She began, her voice unsteady. A massive bridge project. He was so proud of it, saying it would stand for a century. But there was a severe storm. Something failed. Not Takashi's design. Never his calculations. He had repeatedly warned them in writing about substandard materials approved to reduce costs. Har closed his eyes, anticipating what came next. My husband did not come home that night, Anna said, no longer holding back her tears. I had to explain to a small child why his father wasn't returning. The firm refused to take responsibility. They claimed it was an unavoidable accident caused by the weather. They offered a basic settlement and asked me to sign documents I could barely comprehend in my grief. And my family? Hedder asked quietly. Your family took the only thing I had left? Anna said, her voice cracking. My son. Without Takashi, I had no standing, no financial resources, and my visa status was uncertain. Your family insisted I could not provide the life he deserved, that a Nishioa child belong with them. Their legal resources were overwhelming. I was alone in a country not my own, completely exhausted. I fought as hard as I could, but I lost. They took my son and placed me on a vessel back to my home country with a single suitcase and one photograph. She reached into her uniform pocket and carefully retrieved a worn, folded photograph kept inside a small protective sleeve. It showed a small child smiling in the arms of a gentle man. This is all they allowed me to keep. She said, in every place I cleaned, this photo was always with me. I speak to him every night asking if he is well, if he ever thinks of me, even knowing he might not remember my voice. Haruto leaned against the table, overwhelmed by the full truth of what had transpired. We told him you left, he confessed quietly. We told him his mother had abandoned him and didn't want to return. He grew up carrying that pain. Anna brought her hands to her face, deeply hurt by the revelation. No, she sobbed. I wrote hundreds of letters. I sent drawings, telling him how much I loved him and that I would try to return for him. The letters, Haruto said, tears forming in his eyes. They never reached him. Anna wept for everything she had lost. Her husband, her son, and the life she once knew. Haruto, burdened by remorse, stepped closer to her. Forgive me, he said. I know I have no right to ask, but I carry the weight of staying silent. Anna looked at him through her tears. "I do not harbor hatred, Mr. Nishioa," she said softly. "If I did, I would not have survived. I only wish to know one thing. Is my son well?" Har looked up, his expression a mix of hesitation and solemnity. "Anna, Kenji is alive. Where is he?" she asked, holding her breath. "He is here in this city," Harut revealed. "He traveled with me on this trip. He was the youngest member of our delegation, the young man who kept looking at you tonight, who paused before leaving, as if something within him recognized you." The photograph slipped from Anna's fingers. Her son, the little boy from the photograph, had been standing right in front of her in that very room, and neither of them had realized it. "My God," Anna whispered. "He was right there." "Bring him to me," Anna pleaded, holding on to Har's arm. "Please, bring him here now. I need to see him and hold him." "It has been so many years." Haruto held her hands, his expression cautious. "Anna, listen to me. It is not that simple. If I bring him here and reveal everything suddenly, it could overwhelm him. To him, his mother is someone who walked away. He grew up with that belief. Encouraged by my mother, Chio." "Chio," Anna repeated quietly. "She never accepted you," Harut confirmed. "She ensured the letters were intercepted and created the story of abandonment. If we approach this without care, he may react defensively to a stranger, telling him his entire life was based on a falsehood." The room fell quiet once more. Anna realized that reconnecting with her son required immense care. At that moment, the door opened and Arthur Alcazar re-entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He had stepped out to speak with his legal team regarding Greg's actions, but stopping short when he saw the emotional scene before him. "What is happening?" he asked, setting the cups down. Haruto explained the situation, the history between Anna and Takashi, the tragedy, the separation of mother and child, and the years of deception. As Arthur listened, his demeanor softened. "I lost my mother when I was young," Arthur shared quietly. "She cleaned houses to put me through school. She worked tirelessly so I could succeed, and when I finally achieved wealth, I rarely acknowledged where I came from. Watching you defend the truth today reminded me of her." He looked at Anna with sincere respect. "Mrs. Salazar, my resources, legal counsel, and support are entirely at your disposal. You will not face this alone, and your son will know the truth." "There is a constraint," Haruto noted. "Once the agreement is finalized in a few days, our delegation returns to Japan, and Kenji goes with us. If he departs without knowing, another opportunity may not arise. Then we must act promptly," Arthur stated. "I want to see him tonight," Anna said with quiet resolve. "I would rather face his questions directly than spend another day in uncertainty." Har nodded slowly. "Very well. I will speak with him first and prepare him." Across town, in an upscale hotel room, Kenji Nishioa stood by the window, unable to sleep. The business deal had progressed successfully, yet he felt an inexplicable restlessness. His mind kept returning to the woman who had translated in the boardroom. Her voice possessed a familiarity that stirred a distant, faint memory. He walked over to his luggage and retrieved a small wooden music box, slightly uneven on one side, which he had carried with him for as long as he could remember. It was the only item remaining from his early childhood. He wound the key, and a soft, simple melody began to play. Without realizing it, Kenji began humming a lullaby in Spanish, words he didn't recall learning, yet knew effortlessly. He stopped abruptly, his heart racing. "Where did I learn that?" he thought. His phone vibrated. It was his uncle Har. "Kenji," Har's voice sounded strained. "I need to speak with you immediately. It is regarding your mother." "My mother left us," Kenji replied, his tone turning distant. "There is nothing to discuss." "That is what you were told," Har said gently. "We hid the truth from you, and I can no longer carry that lie." Back at Alcazar Tower, Arthur arranged a private conference room for the meeting. Anna had changed out of her cleaning uniform into dignified attire provided for her. She held the old photograph, her hands trembling as she waited. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. Anna stood up immediately, her heart pounding. The door opened, and Haruto entered first, followed by Kenji, who appeared pale and uncertain. Mother and son looked at each other. Before either could speak, Anna noticed the object Kenji was holding, the small, slightly uneven wooden music box Takashi had crafted by hand. That music box? Anna whispered, her voice breaking. Your father made that? Kenji looked down at the object. How could you know about this? He asked, defensive. I have never shown this to anyone. I know it is slightly uneven on the left side, Anna said, stepping closer. Your father spent 3 nights sanding it, but he couldn't get it perfectly straight. He laughed, saying he could design massive bridges over the water, but struggled to make a simple, straight box for his son. Kenji's face lost color. I know the melody inside, she continued softly. It plays a lullaby in Spanish, because I sang it to you every night before you learned to speak. Kenji stepped back. No, my mother left. They told me she didn't want to stay. Did you truly believe that in your heart? Anna asked gently, tears falling down her face. When I saw you today, I didn't recognize the grown man before me at first, but my heart felt it. A mother always knows. Prove it, Kenji demanded, his voice cracking as he clung to his doubts. Sing the song. Sing it without listening to the box. The room grew completely silent. Anna closed her eyes and began to sing softly. Her voice was gentle and clear, delivering the Spanish lullaby with the exact cadence and warmth of the melody from the wooden box. Kenji felt his composure crumble. It was the exact melody he had hummed earlier in his room, the voice that had lingered in his memories since early childhood. It's the same song, he whispered, trembling. It was the first language you ever heard, my son, Anna said tearfully. Before anything else, you heard your mother singing to you. Kenji set the music box down. Then why? He asked, the hurt of years surfacing. Why did you leave me to grow up thinking I didn't matter to you? Anna walked up to him and gently placed her hands on his face. I never left you, she said earnestly. I was forced away from you. She shared the full story about his father's dedication, the unsafe materials he had warned against, the bridge accident, and the legal actions that resulted in her separation from him. I wrote hundreds of letters, Anna added softly. I sent drawings and told you I loved you, but I only recently learned those letters were kept from you. Kenji turned to his uncle. Is this true, Uncle Har? Haruto stepped forward, meeting his gaze. It is true, Kenji. Your mother never abandoned you. We allowed a lie to become your reality, and I am deeply sorry for failing you and your father. Kenji looked at the photograph, then at the music box, and finally at Anna. The anger he had carried for years faded, replaced by the profound realization of his mother's enduring love. Mom, he said softly, using the word for the first time in years. Anna embraced him tightly, and Kenji leaned into the hug, finally finding the comfort that had been missing for so long. Their moment was interrupted when Rachel entered the room hastily. Mr. Alcazar, I apologize for interrupting, but our legal team just called, Rachel reported out of breath. It's about Mr. Lawson. Before leaving, he contacted Chio Nishioa, Rachel continued. He told her that Kenji knows the truth and that Mrs. Salazar is here. Haruto's expression hardened. What did she say? She caught an early flight, Rachel explained. She will be arriving shortly, intending to take Kenji back with her. Kenji stood beside his mother, his expression firm. I am not going anywhere. Hours later, as dawn approached, Chio Nishioa arrived at Alcazar Tower. She entered the suite with an imposing presence, accompanied by a panicked Greg Lawson. What a dramatic gathering, Greg remarked, looking around. Unfortunate that it ends here. Anna stood protectively in front of Kenji. Chio looked at her coldly. So, you have resurfaced after all these years, Chio said in deliberate English, filling my grandson's head with painful stories. They are not stories, Mrs. Nishioa, Anna responded calmly. It is the truth you chose to hide. I provided this boy with every advantage, Chio asserted. A fine education, status, and a clear future. While you cleaned floors, I raised him. She turned to Kenji. Kenji, collect your items. We are leaving. Kenji remained stationary. Grandmother, did you hide her letters? Chio remained silent for a moment before replying. I acted in what I believed were your best interests. That woman would have limited your potential. You separated me from my mother, Kenji said, his voice trembling with emotion. You let me believe she didn't care. I didn't need status. I needed my mother. Greg attempted to intervene. Kenji, don't be misled. These people are taking advantage of you. Anna turned to Greg with absolute firm resolve. Mr. Lawson, I have cleaned offices for people who looked through me for years, and I know what carries real value. My son is not a bargaining chip. I came only so he would know he was always loved. If he chooses to return with you, I will respect his choice. Because true love frees a person, while you only understand control through deception. Arthur stepped forward. Speaking of deception, Greg, officers are waiting downstairs. Our audit confirmed that Coastal Freight Solutions is registered under your name. You will have to answer for the misappropriated funds. Greg's expression collapsed as security escorted him out. Chio turned back to Kenji. Kenji, consider your choices carefully. Everything you have comes from the Nishioa family name. Kenji took Anna's hand. I am not losing anything today, grandmother. I am regaining what was taken from me. Haruto then addressed his mother. I remained silent years ago when I should have defended Anna. I will not repeat that mistake. What was done to them was wrong, and it ends today. Chio looked at her family, realizing her influence over the situation had ended. She turned toward the door, pausing briefly to glance at Kenji. He looks like Takashi, she remarked softly before departing. The room settled into a quiet calm. Kenji embraced his mother again. I am staying, he reassured her. We won't be separated again. Arthur approached them, a warm smile on his face. Mrs. Salazar, no salary can undo past hardships, but allow us to offer you the position of Director of Cultural Relations at our firm. Your skills and character are invaluable to us. Anna looked at him in surprise. Mr. Alcazar. My mother worked tirelessly so I could have opportunities, Arthur added. You reminded me of her strength tonight. It would be an honor to have you on our executive team. At that moment, Haruto's phone rang. He answered, listened intently, and his expression shifted to wonder. Anna, Har said after hanging up, our family legal counsel in Japan just notified me. Before he passed, Takashi left a sealed document with explicit instructions that it only be opened if you ever returned. Arthur immediately arranged for an official digital copy to be transmitted. Within the hour, the certified document arrived. Anna held the paper, recognizing Takashi's neat, precise handwriting. She read the translated text aloud so Kenji could hear his father's words. My dearest Anna, if you are reading this, life separated us sooner than we hoped. I warned the firm regarding the safety of the construction materials in writing. If an incident occurs, no, it was not your fault nor mine, but the result of corporate negligence. I have legally specified that my entire personal estate belonged to you and our son, so no one can displace you. And to my dear Kenji, you once asked me if heaven has bridges so I could visit you. I build massive structures of steel and concrete. But the strongest bridge I have ever built is made of the love between your mother, you, and me. That bridge cannot be washed away by any storm. Whenever you look into your heart, I will be right there. Kenji held the letter alongside his mother, deeply moved by his father's enduring words. Your father made his wishes clear, Har affirmed. I will ensure that his estate and legacy are fully restored to you both. The partnership between Nishioa Corporation and Alcazar Group was finalized the following morning, built on a foundation of mutual respect. In the months that followed, Anna transitioned into her new professional role, facilitating international partnerships with grace and expertise. Rachel served as her primary assistant, learning from her leadership. Arthur Alcazar shifted his management approach, taking time to know every employee across the company by name. In his office, he placed a single framed photograph of his late mother as a daily reminder of humility and gratitude. Kenji chose to remain in the United States, pursuing a career in structural engineering with a focus on safety and integrity. On every project he completed, he subtly engraved a small bridge symbol, a tribute to his father's memory. Months later, Anna received a parcel from Japan, sent by Chio. Inside were all the letters Anna had written over the years, carefully preserved, a quiet gesture acknowledging the past. One evening, Anna and Kenji stood by the window of her new office, looking out at the sunset over Atlanta. "What are you thinking about, Mom?" Kenji asked softly. "I was thinking that life took many things from me," Anna reflected with a peaceful smile. "But it never took away the hope that one day I would hear you call me Mom again." Kenji's arm circled her as the gentle evening glow suffused the room, illuminating the quiet fortitude of a bond that time, distance, and adversity had proven incapable of shattering. As the years unfurl and the clamor of our daily routines begins to recede, we often come to grasp that life rarely assesses us by the pedestals we occupy, the pronouncements on our office doors, or the riches we amass. Instead, the genuine essence of our being is discovered in the quiet rectitude of our decisions, the boundless wellspring of our empathy, and our readiness to truly recognize the shared humanity in those around us. It is astonishingly simple to drift through life fixated solely on our own aspirations, overlooking countless souls without ever pausing to fathom their unspoken narratives, their silent surrenders, or the inherent dignity they carry amidst humble surroundings. Yet each soul we encounter bears a saga woven from love, struggle, and an unwavering spirit, merely awaiting a compassionate gaze to perceive them in their unvarnished truth. Furthermore, time possesses a singular gift for revealing that the most profound connections we forge are not built upon material triumphs or ostentatious victories, but upon the unseen conduits of affection, authenticity, and absolution that we extend to one another. Misapprehensions, ego, and reticence can sever bonds for years, forging chasms that seem utterly impassable. Nevertheless, when we opt for candor over expediency and love over rancor, even the most entrenched deceptions eventually dissolve, permitting what is true to persevere. Genuine love harbors no desire to own or command. It waits with steadfastness through trials, enduring in stillness through protracted seasons of solitude, anticipating the juncture when healing can commence. For those who have weathered profound bereavement or extended periods of feeling overlooked, a potent lesson lies in clinging to hope. Adversity may redirect our course and momentarily cloud our purpose, but it cannot erode our intrinsic value unless we permit it. When we navigate life with an unclouded heart, liberated from acrimony, we remain receptive to the quiet blessings of renewal. Ultimately, the enduring testament we leave behind is not measured by the heights we scaled, but by the depths of our love, the integrity with which we champion truth, and the steadfastness with which we helped mend the pathways that guide us back to a singular source.